recorded it, and then I wouldn't have we'd actually have had a record, and then I wouldn't have had to have you count. I think that would have been a good idea, but since it's passed, I now am recording. I want to ask if there are any objections to recording. Okay, most of the people have been on other calls. All right, so let's segue a little bit to talking about the, where do we focus? What have we accomplished? What is this branch all about? Because we've got a few people that might be considering joining. So I put together a few slides. The mission, right? It's advancing gender equity. Several of you who were recently newly elected officers mentioned that. And we are nonpartisan. We're research-based, fact-based. These are the qualities or values that we actually have. And it's a national organization of over 100,000 people. I think, Anna, you have about 1,300 members in the state of Arizona.
Yeah, we're a little bit lower than we were before, but yeah, we're probably about 1,000 actually.
Yeah, and it's active at all levels. It's active at the national level, at the state level, as well as at the local level. So what are we looking at? What are those kinds of activities? The research, I think what they focus on is research that really matters, right, to women and girls. So there are things about salary and the wage gap that they have done, right? There are things about the debt, which is heavier on young women than it is on men. They've borrowed more money. It's things like that that they tend to take time to look into and make sure that we have the facts. And they're relied upon, by the way. They're a source for much of the journal, the newspapers and the TV programs and things often call on AAUW for the facts. They have many education initiatives, including one we do on campus. I'll talk about that in a minute, called Start Smart. They focus on public policy. I'll also cover that in some depth. And they give out millions, close to $4 million a year in scholarships and grants. So those are the things that at a national level they support. Locally, okay, we schedule interesting, we hope, to everybody, monthly speakers. We've had these kinds of speakers this year, people on wellness and COVID-19. In fact, it was Jane and Joan's sister who spoke a pharmacist perspective on what's happening in the area of COVID. Last month we had Peace Corps returnees. I don't know about you, but I love to hear about international kinds of assignments, and they were very knowledgeable, having spent years, some of them more than the normal 2 or 3 around the world. We have had local teacher organizations like TREC and Tucson Values Teachers who have spoken. Today, of course, we have a leadership speaker, and next month in May, we're going to visit on a virtual tour of the world of words. Now, this is a library for children's international children's books that is located in the College of Education at the University of Arizona. And we're going to have Dr. Cassie Short, who is probably recognized as one of the highest authorities on international children's stories, with us to give us that tour of the library. So we have many librarians, by the way, or former librarians who are part of the group. So I'm sure they'll enjoy that as well as others. Monthly speakers. We're working locally for better public education. Most of you know the facts about Arizona's public education and its state of affairs. We have some of the lowest ratings and the lowest pay of any state in the United States. And our teachers, getting to know them, they're a wonderful group of people. Some of our members are former teachers, and they need some support. So this year we decided to focus on teachers, and I think that will continue. We've done several programs around teachers. We've started something called the Tucson Teacher Trading Post, which is a resource for educators, and there are 400 members now of that. We, before Christmas, gave out 50 $100 awards of supplies for the classroom, because what many people don't know is that the teachers themselves often have to pay for some of the supplies in the classroom. And I know because I processed those 50 gifts. Some of them were so basic. Some of them were things like hand sanitizer dispensers, that just weren't there during this particular emergency. Some of them were fabulous books, that they wanted to have for their students, like the history of the Indian populations in Arizona. And some of them one was a rug. Now, I never thought that someone would ask for a rug, but this was so the kids could sit on the floor, right, and have circle time and be more comfortable. So it was a surprising kind of thing for us, but it really was well appreciated by the teachers. We followed that, and thanks to Jane and Joan, I think both of them worked on March Madness, where we gave out an easier way to implement this program, $50 gift certificates to Jonathan's. That also gave, of course, Jonathan's, which is an education resources company, a local company we wanted to support, and they worked with us really well. So it was an easy thing and a fun thing to do. And Jane, I don't know if you want to share anything about the thank yous that have come back.
Yeah, we really have received an overwhelming notes of appreciation, both emails directly to me because I had notified the winners, but also on the trading post as well. And just like you said, Linda, some of the basic things that the teachers, needed, but just didn't have a budget for were simple things as name tags and getting posters for their rooms in preparation for the kids to return to the classroom from being online. And one of the other teachers had mentioned she had gotten 2 cushions, once again, for the classroom, for the kids to be comfortable sitting on the floor. So it's really amazing some of the things that, again, we would think is somewhat basic, but really have made a positive influence in the classroom. And I'm hoping that we can continue to do events like this through the trading post with teachers making an immediate effort, or impact, I should say, on the local community. In talking about the funding for these programs, in particular the March Madness event, we actually had no cost to the branch. It was all done through donations and also a grant from AAUW Arizona at the state level. So we really made a big impact, and appreciate you, Linda, for actually helping put the whole trading post concept into play and kind of being the guinea pig in December, learning what kind of worked and what didn't work so that we could make it a smoother transition with the March event.
I didn't know I was the pilot program.
I'd like to share that Jane and I a couple times went to Jonathan's, and I'm telling you what, that place is just amazing. I've even bought stuff for my daughter and son-in-law who teach in Iowa, and I'm recommending them in Sierra Vista that need things as well to go there. But him and his wife are just dynamic to help, and they're like, don't worry, we'll make it right. If they don't have something, they'll get it. I mean, I think the teachers, once they go there, if they're not familiar with that place, I think it'll be a place that they'll go, even if they're not awarded, something. So I think that that's also a good thing for the community as well. It's definitely been a lot of fun. Again, seeing all this excitement and knowing we're making a difference for these people, these teachers.
Yeah, for sure. And I know Sandy Coffey is on this. She's on mute and not pictured right now, but Sandy was a contributor to the March Madness Fund, one of the people who was a contributor. So thank you, Sandy, very much for your donation. All right, back to, and the last thing was earlier in the year, we decided that we were going to support, there's a fairly new organization called TREC, which is Tucson Regional Educators Cooperative. And they're bringing professional development education beyond classroom content to teachers in the Tucson area. And we decided to give them a $5,000 grant, and we really appreciate this comes from the reserves, which we built up from some of the endowment contributions that have been made to our branch over time. So we really appreciate people, and I know that TREC used it to support their teacher leaders who are their teachers with full-time jobs, and they also volunteer to help run the TREC organization. So I think, as we've done this, I think there's been a lot of benefit to the community. We last summer when we sat around doing strategy sessions, I'm not sure we really understood what our impact was going to be, but for one, and I think I thank the board for supporting, this new thrust. All right, so let's go on. One of the other things is staying informed about public policy. There are many activities going on to help us stay informed about equity issues. The one from a national level is called the 2-Minute Activist, and they notify you via email when there's a bill before the Washington Congress that is ready for a vote, and you can just press on a button and correspond with your representatives and state senators. And as they point out, it's like they make your voice, they give you a megaphone, to amplify your voice. We had a wonderful legislative day in February. This year it was virtual, but it isn't often that we get a chance to actually talk to some of the main people in the legislature about ongoing bills that are at that point in time in committee. And we appreciate that Harriet Young from the Flagstaff branch organizes that, and Shirley Mooney, who's our public policy person, participates in that. And I think it was great to be virtual. Normally, a bunch of us have to get into a car at 5 a.m. and drive to Phoenix. But the virtual aspects of it allowed a lot of people to participate this year. Shirley issues daily reports. She tells me she spends about 2 hours a day looking through various online resources and culling out those that are most pertinent to the equity issues. We really appreciate her efforts. There are several upcoming Zoom broadcasts. The next one is Karen English, who is a former U.S. representative for Arizona. And you can see that is the registration link. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue an email to follow up on this, because there are a bunch of links now that I will be introducing to you. So I'll send out an email and you'll be able to use those. We also sponsor a Great Decisions group in Tucson. There are several Great Decisions groups, but we do sponsor one, and that's the way to get informed about international policy. So public policy, one of my favorites. We're working on closing the wage gap. And for those of you who have not attended one of my Start Smart sessions, these two pigs, play a big part in that session. Because of the wage gap, the amount of money that a male worker can accumulate over a lifetime is substantially different than what a female can accumulate. So I use the purple pig and the pink pig as illustrations of that difference, which, by the way, for someone like the difference between a Hispanic woman and a white male is over $1 million over a lifetime. Imagine the housing, the education funding, the retirement funds, et cetera. That difference is really incredible. So we do Start Smart sessions. There is a free online course, which is right here. Anyone can take that. We encourage anybody that wants to learn about how to negotiate, especially over salary, to do that. We just finished a session yesterday, which was the first of two for the University of Arizona. We partnered with the Graduate Resource Center. And on next Friday, it's at 4:30. I don't think I put that there in Arizona time. We're doing a panel on managing your career. And we have Dr. Margaret Pitts, who is, she's a young mother and full professor and has an administrative post. Angie Mays, who is a vice president with a local software company, and Francisca Villegas Bracker, who is the head of the Women's Business Center at the Southern Arizona YWCA. We'll have them all with us at 4:30 on Friday. And my thanks to Anna and a couple of other people. We've actually held Spanish language versions of Start Smart for the YWCA's Latina Institute. So this is, we've done great work, I think, in trying to help locally close the wage gap. We've also been encouraging young students. There is a national conference sponsored by the National AAUW called Nick Whistle. I know that's a strange, but you can see National Conference for College Women Student Leaders. That's why they call it Nick Whistle, I think. And it's going to be virtual this year. We have already awarded 10 scholarships to students. If you have a student, there are still scholarships available at the state level. And I encourage you to contact our Lindsay Fellow, who works with us every year, whose name is Lakin Kearns, and she's from the University of Arizona. So you can, in fact, contact her if you know of a student who you think would like to attend. It's going to be 2 days online, the 25th and 26th of May. And we also have endowed scholarships to support students at both the College of Education, University of Arizona, and at Pima. So now I'm going to get to the recruiting speech. Or Joan, do you want to handle this?
I think you're on a roll, but I just want to welcome Marina and Gabby as potential new members. So I'm excited that we're having all this great things, and Mary as well as a new member, and Diana, and now going to be board members. I'm really excited about that. And just real quick, I've sent out a lot of emails to a lot of different places. So I'm hoping that for our May 8th event that we'll have more. I have had interest, but some people couldn't make it today. So I will keep everybody posted about what we're looking at from there. So great to work with everybody, and it's going to be a great year.
Thanks, Joe. So the Shape of Future program is something from National that it helps us to recruit new members, okay? By becoming a member after coming to an event like today's talk, you get 50% off of national dues. So you get national dues for $31 instead of $62. The state dues are $9. This year, our branch dues are $10. We're still trying to respect the fact that there are some financial pressures and things during COVID. We went from $29, I think, down to $1 for this year, and next year we've gone back up, starting toward our normal kind of dues, but at $10 per person. So $50, and you get a payment for dues through June 30, 2022. I think that's the first time I've ever said that year. So, if you join today, it's from today onward. So this is the link. And as I say, I'll include that in the link, and Joan, you can send it out to the other people. So let's see. I promised I would get to this point by 1:30. How did I do? Let's see. I did pretty well, but Mary, I do not see our guest speaker.
I haven't heard from her, but I know she said she'd be here at 11:30. Let me text her.
Okay, thank you. Otherwise, you might have to put up with me in one of my leadership talks.
And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody jumping on today. I had quite a few people who were going to jump on today, and I had quite a few messages in between last night and today.
Linda, can you give us a little preempt to the May program? Yes, World of Words. What do you know what the presentation will be?
I do not. I've been to it on the 4th floor. There she is.
Oh.
On the 4th floor.
I'm sorry about that. It took me a little while to get on the internet here. Hello,
Okay.
everybody.
Oh, it's no problem, Suzanne. We just finished. But you were making my heart palpitate over here. So anyway, to answer the question, the World of Words is on the 4th floor of the College of Education. They have a children's library, okay, of international children's books. It's a fascinating place. There are also lots of exhibits and things there. It's free. It's open all the time. That the building at the University of Arizona is open. The College of Ed is right next to a big parking lot. If you don't wait until about noon, it won't be full. And I want Dr. Short, who is a world-renowned scholar in this arena, to talk to us about, what is this collection, and, why did it happen, and, all those sorts of things, Jane. So I'll be sending her an email before we get to that, and we'll be investing the officers as well. So tune in next month to take your oath of office or whatever. I haven't figured out exactly what that is. So I think I need some help from Anna as to what what we're required to do.
There is an actual script, so for the installation of officers.
I may still have it, Linda. I'll look and send you what I have.
Excellent. That would be really good. That makes it easy. So anyway, we have with us Suzanne McFarland, and I'm going to just go over to my almost last slide. So, and she can join too. Suzanne can join under Shape the Future. She's here. It doesn't matter whether she's a speaker or not. Okay, Suzanne is going to speak with us about moving forward with positive intention. And I know that this is a leadership topic that is very popular these days about, what you do in order to set a pathway, in order to have what I call a lighthouse, guiding light in your future. And she's known in Tucson as one of the best coaches and leadership people that we have. She's going to talk about whatever the PERMA model is. I don't know what that is, so this is going to be a surprise for me. But it identifies what we have the most control over in our lives. And I think that's a really important topic during COVID, where we so many times can feel out of control, or that most things are out of our control. But, people think, oh, I'm older, I'm a grandmother, I don't need leadership training. Well, a grandmother, believe me, I think is one of the busiest people in the world. And I know, I know that Alice and Kay would agree with me. And so this is something for all of us, whether you're a professional or whether you're a grandmother or whatever your role in life happens to be. And Anna, who also sits on the state, knows this very, very well. So with that, I'm going to turn over screen to you. I'll get off of sharing so you can get that started up, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Let me share my screen here. I'm so happy to be here with you, ladies. All righty. Okay. So I was very delighted when Mary Venezia reached out to me and said, hey, can you talk to our group? And I love women in general. I really love helping women step up in their leadership. And I say what I do is help people see the best in themselves, stand tall in who they are, so that they can contagiously change the world. And like you mentioned, Linda, that happens in all aspects of our lives, where we can make some kind of impact, where we can affect the temperament of things. And that's somewhat what we'll be talking about today. So as we know, we are living still in these kind of crazy, chaotic, unpredictable times. And when all this came down for me, now, over a year ago for all of us, I thought, well, how am I going to respond? And by the way, I'm not saying I did it correctly, but I just was beginning to feel like it would be easy to quickly fade into irrelevance. And with the type of work that I do, because I do leadership development and executive coaching, that was not top of mind for people last March and April. So I thought, well, I think I'll offer a class. So I offered a class on what happy people know, based on a really cool book by Dan Baker that I really love. I did a 6-week series for free just to kind of put something out there into the world positive. I did a specialization in positive psychology, and that's where I learned about this PERMA model. And I reached out to clients to check on them. I hosted a Zoom family reunion. I had a drive-by birthday parade for my daughter. I planted a raised bed garden. I just tried to think of things like, what could I do that would make me feel good, but also spread a little bit of positivity in the world. And one of the things I really love to do is to garden and to cook. And when I can combine those, I really love that. Like, that's super fun. If I whoa, I grew those scallions that are in that dish, or that basil, or some garlic in my raised bed garden. I have a lot of Swiss chard right now. But I try to do things that could keep me up, because I knew that I also was setting the tone for everybody in my life. So my 2 adult children were living at home this time last year. My son had been doing an internship in Asia and then traveled and came back because of the pandemic. And my daughter was preparing to start a master's degree. So there are 4 adults in the house. Definitely need a little temperament setting sometimes, because sometimes that was hard. But think about like what has been impacted for you over the last year. And I'm sure that for all of us, it's just so many different things. And now we're at this new wave of, we're no longer asking like, have you been tested and have you been self-isolating and that sort of thing. Now the question is, have you gotten your vaccine yet? So there's still all this judgment and pressure and all that. So, think about the kind of things that have been impacted for you. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about like, what are the things that we can do? So I think one of the things for me that I'm facing in my work, and I'm sure all of you are, both in our personal lives and in our professional lives, is what is the new normal and how am I going to have to adapt once again? Because we don't know. It's interesting, the gyms are open, but they're not really fully open and they still have restrictions. And so I think for all of us, there's some uncertainty still on like, what does this new normal look like and when is that actually going to show up for all of us? So we've learned ways to adapt, and we've learned ways to be resilient, hopefully. The fact that you're showing up here is a good sign of that, but we do that by being agile. So what is resilience? So I'm going to share with you a kind of like a very broad definition. It's kind of a accumulation of ideas that I had on resilience, but it's successful adaptation to overwhelming adversity and stress. It's the ability to bounce back from negative circumstances and emotional experiences and adversity, things like that are negative. It's that flexible adaptation to changing demands of experiences, and those can be stressful experiences. It just could be change in general. But really,
Suzanne, did you advance the slides? Oh, I cannot see.
You can't see any.
I see the first slide, right?
I did not advance slide. I don't have a lot of slides. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same slide. Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But the big thing about resilience is growing from change. So when you have the ability to bounce forward, which is those that espouse the positive psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, like they say, like it's really bouncing forward and growing from those experiences. And then also being agile. So agile is really the ability to move quickly and easily. So when we have the ability to bounce back or bounce forward quickly and easily, then we're able to use that both agility and that resilience. So how do we get there? Well, I say we get there by attending to our well-being. And when we take care of ourselves, we have the ability to quickly and easily adapt. We can bounce back or bounce forward from changing circumstances. And the important thing is that we need to attend to our own self-care so that we can set the tone, so that we can model, and that we can teach others how to do that as well. So whatever environments we find ourselves in, it's like if we're doing that, then we're going to be influencing and leading others well. So what I want you to do first exercise is what's in my control. So I'd like you to take out a piece of paper. You can do it on your computer if you'd like to, and I'd like you to make 3 columns. So at the top, you're gonna have a heading at the top of each column, and the first one is what's not in my control. That's you. The second column is what I can influence. And the third is what's in my control. So I want you to just take a couple minutes, and what I'd like you to do is just think about those things and jot down some ideas, and then we'll just have some sharing. So I'll just say like, we'll do that for 3 minutes. We can, if you feel more comfortable, you can turn off your camera, and then I'll let you know when we're back in 3 minutes.
Well, I think I'm gonna take it out.
Linda, you can mute her if you
Yeah,
want.
I can. Who is it?
Catherine.
Yeah, got it.
My dog started going crazy when they heard the doorbell.
All right, I know that was kind of fast, but I figured that would give you a little bit of time to just begin to think about those three. And I have my slides up. You locate this part of it if that's possible. If I don't know if you can see everybody though. So what I'm wondering, unless I can, nope, I can't do that. Okay, so I'm wondering if a few of you would be willing to share, what did you discover when you started thinking about what's not in my control, what can I influence, and what's in my control? So anything that you'd say, oh, that's a different perspective, or I didn't realize that. So feel
Sure, I'll
free
go
to
ahead.
So Jane,
Okay, I wasn't sure if somebody else spoke. I realized that I can control my time, how I spend my day with a daily schedule. But when it comes to family, not so much. My oldest son just recently got his driver's license. So that's creating a new dynamic as it relates to trying to plan the family dinners or family, doing different things together. And again, that's something new that we're adjusting to, at least I'm adjusting to.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so that's a really, sometimes it's hard when you're the leader of a family or a leader of a team to realize, I can really only control my piece. You can influence, maybe you can come up with ways to influence your son. Right? Anybody else want to share?
This is Joan. I can't control what others do, and I can't control that if I happen to be somewhere where someone's doing something that I don't agree with, to try to make sure that I'm not associated with that, because, right time, right place for some, right place, wrong time for others. And it doesn't happen often, you know what I mean? But sometimes we may find ourselves in those situations.
Yeah. So the thing about these, is there anybody else who would like to share? We'll move on to our model.
I'll do one more, Suzanne, if you want. So what I noticed was that in my control were things like my emotions, like loving my family. Okay, that they were the intangibles rather than the, as like Joan was saying, the place that I'm in, or, et cetera. So there were a lot of things that I guess I could put in that column that really are, they're emanating from me, and therefore I have control of it.
Mm-hmm. That's an awesome segue to what we're going to talk about with our model. But what's not in my control, you want to think about don't putting energy and attention there, because that's going to create the negative emotions, right? We can create positive emotions by focusing on, well, what can I influence, right? So helping others with what they can influence and control as we influence, and then what's in my control to be intentional and create daily routines around that. So where we can create daily routines around the things that boost us up, then we have a greater opportunity for us to feel better and other people to feel better as well too. So I have a short video that I'm going to play next, hopefully.
In the last 6 months, more than 1,000 books have been published about it. Universities around the world
Can you hear
are
it?
teaching on it.
Barely.
Yeah. Okay, there's something wrong with the sound. I was wondering about that earlier. All right. We're going to have to stop.
Suzanne, if you put the URL to it in the chat, then I can maybe bring it up, and I can share with.
That's a little complicated to do, yeah.
Okay.
So because I have it embedded in here, so we'll skip that. Something has occurred, and you always have to be prepared, right, for technology issues, where if I play the video from YouTube, then it plays fine. But if recently it just so happened that the sound is not working, so I don't know, but apologize for that. I wanted to show you this fun video. I'll try to pull up the URL for that and put it in the chat room before we finish today. But okay, so what I want to talk to you about, if I can get out of here, sorry. Okay, all right, so I want to talk about our model. So you have a handout called Map Your Happy, and Dr. Martin Seligman, who is the director of the Penn Positive Psychology Center, and he's also in charge of the Penn Masters of Applied Psychology, so the MAP program. He was president of the American Psychological Association in 1998, during which his presidential initiative was to make the field of positive psychology a field of scientific study. So the whole field of positive psychology really has not been around all that long. And he's essentially the grandfather of positive psychology. There are other contributors to it as well, but he really advanced this field of positive psychology. So the specialization I did was through Penn and learned about all these awesome things. But he would talk about the positive psychology as being that of the psychology of well-being, or the psychology of human flourishing. And he speaks a lot about what makes life worth living, or what he calls the good life. So he developed this model, the PERMA theory of well-being, and this defines 5 essential elements to form the foundation to build a happy and flourishing life so that we can be resilient and agile. So, and there are these 5 things, and you see on your handout, and we'll be working through these quickly because I know this is just a shorter engagement that we have today. But you can take some notes as you can jot some notes down, and then later on, if you feel like this is helpful, maybe go back and put a little bit more thought into what are these things for you. So the first of which of the PERMA model is positive emotions. So positive emotions, when we think about those, we want to feel good, right? We all want to feel good, and we want to feel hopeful and inspired by the things that we choose, and to feel like we're living our best life. So most people want that. We'll just make that assumption. But when we do, we can allow our positive emotions to take the lead in our life. So think about what brings you positive emotions. So what's something that made you feel good today? Or what's something that you do maybe on a regular basis that creates positive emotions for you? Whether or not it's picking up the phone and talking to a family member or a friend, if it's working in your garden, if it's literally stopping to smell the roses, if it's cooking a good meal, or reading something beautiful like a poem, or looking like I'm looking at that beautiful virtual background that has the sunset with all the colors and looking at a sunset. But think about what brings you positive emotions, because you want to do more of that then. So we have control over feeding ourselves with these 5 elements of the PERMA model. So you can feed yourself with more positive emotions, but you need to think about, well, what are those things that create those positive emotions for me? And make sure that they become part of your routine. And especially if you're having a day where you feel like it's not my best day today, to think of like, what are those things that I can be doing? And as you'll see, as we work through the model, you have 5 different categories you can draw from to help you. So the second is engagement. So when we're fully engaged and immersed in activities, duties, and tasks, we feel a sense of flow. So it's always fun to think about, like, well, what am I doing when I'm in the flow? What am I doing when I lose track of time? And for all of us, that's going to be different. It might be a hobby. It might be something that we're reading. It could be a myriad of things. But when we do find ourselves in the flow, we find a source of passion and commitment, and we're replenished with being energized and joy-filled when we find ourselves in the flow. So once again, what are the things that you do that put you in the flow? So it's when you feel engaged, when you feel immersed in something, when you feel like, oh my gosh, an hour went by and I didn't realize that all that time had gone by. And it could be something that you do in your work. Like I love to do development of like curriculum and workshops. I find when I'm designing something like what we're going through today, I lose track of time. I'm like, oh, that's so much fun for me to do that. But for everybody, it could be different. And it could be, once again, like I said, a hobby. It could be just spending time with people that you love. But engagement. So what is it that helps you feel engaged? And then you want to do more of that. You know, that's what I'm going to say for all of these. You want to do more of that. So we can attend to our well-being by fueling ourselves with all of these things. So the third one is relationships. So they're crucial to our well-being and happiness. And it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or you're an extrovert or anywhere in the continuum of that relationships really feed us. So, but here's the thing to think about relationships: positive, authentic, and inspiring connections lead to more positive emotions. So it's not just any old relationship, but the ones that are positive, authentic, and inspiring. They lift us up and they create a sense of engagement sometimes, and they certainly create positive emotions as well too. So also being there for others. So it's not just being the recipient of that, but also being able to offer that to others. So offering support, listening, and helping in return also lead to positive emotions. So where you can be the recipient of that, but also being able to help other people, you gain in return as well too. So what are those relationships and communities that are important to you and bring you that joy and support? And what are those relationships, or where might you like to invest so that you can both give and receive in those relationships? And once again, those help us feel that good about our lives when we feel like, oh, I'm in great relationships and I'm offering, I'm receiving, and I'm giving in those relationships. The fourth is meaning. So when we have a sense of purpose, and that is typically when we're connected to something larger than ourselves, that brings meaning to our lives. But you can also build meaning into your lives. And so if you can build a sense of purpose when you contribute to something that is important to you. So we can build that meaning into our lives if we're not necessarily feeling that. And that could also be something where it's related to the things that we believe in. And then if we're actually living out those beliefs, that they're aligned with our actions. So those kind of things help us have a sense of meaning as well too in our lives. So what purpose or larger connection or cause do you feel drawn to and connected to, so that you can tap into that sense of meaning? And once again, sometimes it might just be something little we can do, not necessarily something grand, to give us that sense of meaning and purpose in our lives. And what can you creatively do to help? So sometimes it's just a small gesture that really lifts somebody else up, that brings meaning to our lives as well too. And the fifth is accomplishment. So how we challenge ourselves in positive ways helps us to develop our strengths and our skills. So we have a sense of accomplishment when we set goals, and we feel a sense of progress in achieving those. So sometimes those might be SMART goals. Most of you in academics probably know what that is, but specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound goals, but goals where you feel like, I've really thought this through and I can do this. And that will be, we feel a sense of accomplishment. And maybe it's teaching your son how to drive, Jane, right? So maybe that's it. But our goals may be really big goals, they may be little goals, they may be medium goals, but think about what have you accomplished that makes you feel happy? And focusing on that, like patting yourself on the back or celebrating yourself a little bit because you've achieved a goal, whether or not, once again, it's a little goal or a big goal. And then what goals you want to set for yourself to challenge you so that you do feel a sense of accomplishment. So that as well creates this sense of well-being. So accomplishing a goal, but also feeling like I'm setting a goal and I'm working on it helps us. So this PERMA model really helps us to define lots of different ways that we can pump ourselves up. And once again, going back to where we started, so in this crazy and unpredictable time that we're living in, if we can fuel ourselves with these things that make us feel good about ourselves, that make us feel good about our lives, and make us feel good that we're making a contribution. So what are we doing? We are modeling that for others, and we have the ability to also teach that. And that certainly sets the tone. And right now, where setting the tone is a little more complicated because so much of what we're doing is not in person, model these kinds of other people with where we all are is not where we expected to be. So if you really like this, there are a lot of resources at the University of Pennsylvania, Penn, and their website is the Authentic Happiness website. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I'm gonna see if I can pull up some of these links for you. So that's, I have found lots of great resources there. So if you love this idea of positive psychology, if you like the PERMA model, there are a variety of instruments that are on there for free, and a lot of resources and articles and things like that that you can draw from to learn a little bit more about the science of happiness, the science of well-being, and generally speaking, the ways that we can help ourselves live our best lives by bringing out the best in ourselves and bringing out the best in others. So I would love to know, and I know we're just about out of time here, we have a minute left, but any key takeaways, anything that you felt like, wow, that was kind of cool and that's thought-provoking for me from our quick session today.
You have more time, so.
Okay. I was just trying to barrel through it. And So I'd love to hear if you have any questions or key takeaways, anything that you feel like, wow, I'll work on that. Yes, Malika.
Well, on my what I can influence column when we were first doing things, my first thing was I can influence other people's feelings. And because I had a very good friend who suffers, or I have a very good friend who suffers from PTSD. And every time she reacts to a loud noise, somebody in a restaurant drops a plate, breaks it, it startles her so much she screams and starts trembling. And it's that adrenaline that gets into her body that she's so embarrassed about. And I've been working with her positively, and I can see a big difference in her. She calms down easier when, I tell her, just think of what you were last year. And I get her to stop and think, oh, and I'll say, look around. Is anybody, paying attention to you because you did that? And I did that yesterday, and she said she looked around and nobody had been affected by what her reaction was. And she said, oh, yeah. And it just made a real difference to me that I could, influence her behavior to make her feel much, much better about, her reactions to things. So, and that came, before when we were writing our 3 columns, and I thought, wow, I guess I'm practicing positive psychology.
I love it.
Then I felt a great sense of accomplishment.
I love it. So you brought a lot of examples of this PERMA model in how you responded to your friend. And that is something to think about too. So we have the ability to react and we have the ability to respond. And reaction is really important if you see a toddler heading towards the fire in the fireplace or something like that. But in a professional setting, and a lot of times in our personal life, it's much more fruitful if we have the ability to respond. And you were teaching some of that to her as well too. So the understanding that like immediately we might have a visceral reaction, but sometimes we have to take a more measured approach to be able to step back and take a deep breath and really think a little bit, even if it's just for seconds, to think about how you'd like to respond to something, or maybe say, hey, that I can see that that's not a good situation, or I see that that's uncomfortable for you or whatever. Let's table that and we'll talk about that later. So it gives you time to be to sort out a response to something. But I really appreciate that example. That was awesome. And it sounded, what I loved the most about it is that you said it made you feel good about yourself to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments? Key takeaways?
Well,
No, sorry, go ahead, Linda.
no, go ahead, Diane.
I was just gonna say, I know personally, I'm a first-time mom and I've never been a kids person. So just what I can control is what I focus on the most, and it's the hardest sometimes when you're being screamed at and having so it's just been a very I will look at things through a different lens, if you would.
So with all the stressors on you being a new mom, something like this model can be really helpful for you to focus on, once again, what's in my control. You can control these things, right? These 5 things. You can say, okay, yes, I have a screaming baby and that's really disruptive right now, but here's what I can do, right? And figure out what are the things that you can focus on to help kind of lift you up and make you more resilient and agile, right? You'd be a little bit more nimble in the way that you can respond when it's not the ideal situation for you. Awesome, thank you. Anybody else?
I really appreciate the fact there seemed to be a lot of overlap between the, PE, R, et cetera. And it would be, I think it would be an interesting exercise for me to just map those overlaps,
Mhm.
you know, to see where the strongest points are that would, you know, cover more than one of those areas.
And they all have some interrelationship, and that's what I love about it. So when I do coaching with people, sometimes it's really fun for me to help them in one area, and then you realize, oh, it's affected all these other things as well too. So I think that's a great point. By the way, I put in the chat room a few things. So I put in the Authentic Happiness website at Penn. I put in my website in case you would like to reach out to me for any reason. And Mary also knows how to reach me, and now Linda. And I also invited all of you to, so I'm the Vice President of Outreach and Partnerships for the International Coaching Federation of Arizona. And next Friday, the 16th, we're having, we do a quarterly lunch and learn to just help people in our broader communities, like those of you in academics and business and organizations and things. And the topic is successful, crucial conversations. So it's from noon to 1, and that link is the link to register for that. So it's free, and if that's something that would interest you, I'm just letting everybody I know about it, because it's just a nice little bonus to do a little reflection. So,
Great. We have to send out a bunch of links as a follow-up to this, Suzanne, so we'll include those when we send it out, all right, so that everybody has access.
well, thank you so much. If there aren't any additional comments or questions, I can log off so you can finish your meeting. I can send, if you want to look at that YouTube link, and I apologize for that. It's something weird that's just happened recently with my computer. And I was hoping that it wouldn't affect the volume for all of you. So technology, right? Who said that we need to be technology experts, right? I didn't sign up for that. But thank you so much. I really appreciate being here with you. I applaud all of you.
Suzanne, we appreciate, you know, you presenting this to us. I think there was a lot for us to reflect on about the model, and, you know, the ability to self-generate. I don't think we think enough about that. We really, I think we believe ourselves to be, I'm going to say, a victim of circumstances. That's an overstatement. Okay, but we do think of ourselves not as, gee, I can actually generate something positive, you know, at this point in time. And for Diana, a lot of us on this call were parents of young kids at several times in our lives, and we did survive. So, you know, but it would have been nice actually to have a little bit of this to Suzanne, to be able to think of at those points. And gee, I know that Kay, with her kids coming over every day to do virtual school, although I bet she's glad. Are they finally back, Kay? Are they finally not virtual schooling, and you got them out of your house?
Yeah, well, they're on a hybrid model. So they're here, they're gone about half the day.
Well, at least you get it. You've gotten some of your peace and quiet back.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you, Suzanne, for introducing us to all of this. And I hope that, you know, you feel a sense of accomplishment in terms of what your effect is on other people in the world. I mean, you know, that's something for you to make sure you let in.
Oh, thank you. Well, have a great rest of your day, everybody. And once again, I put my website there, and there's a contact form, and Mary's got my information. So if you have a question or just want to continue the conversation, I'm happy to do that. So take care, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I have one more thing to kind of cover on this, and that's to go back to our Shape the Future and to give you, you know, a few things. Joan Jorgensen, who's here, she's the head of membership, and it's pretty easy to remember if you want to contact her about information. AAUW Tucson membership at Gmail. And there's a side benefit, by the way. We would love for a few of you to sign up today after this call under the Shape the Future program, because we, the branch, will get up to 3 free memberships to give out. And last year, for example, we gave one to a dear friend of ours who's been a member forever, Carol Dow, who was in the hospital most of the year before. And we knew that, you know, she would appreciate having a free membership from us. So you know, the more members that we can bring up, we get up to 3 free memberships to give out, and that's for this year. And then again, if Jane, nod your head up or down for next year. Isn't that the case after we pass the June 30 fiscal year boundary?
That is true.
It would be wonderful. And, you know, to bring people in, a lot of the teachers that we've been serving also, you know, don't have substantial wherewithal. And it would be great if we could donate a few of those memberships to them. So,
Linda, I did put the link, the direct link into the chat that would take anyone to the website under the Shape the Future program.
are you putting it in there, Joan?
It's already there. Yes, it's already there.
Okay. It's already there, what, from before?
In the chat.
Okay, I've got chat up, but
It's kind of up, it's underneath the
yeah,
map.
okay, it's early on, it's at 1:36. If those of you who want to go back and copy that and do something immediately after the meeting. But at this point in time, I'll just open it up. If there are any general questions about what's going on or comments on the programs, I'm thrilled at the new officers that we elected today and thank them very much for volunteering. And any other questions or comments? If not, we'll be sending out information about the May program and the visit to the World of Words. So thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.